Hello and welcome back to Rookie Watch. Last time we finished off a crazy Broncos season in which an otherwise wildly inconsistent Broncos team was carried by Rookie and Defensive Player of the Year Eric Lamb, the best cornerback duo of all time in my opinion, and a whole lot of luck that led to a comeback win in the AFC Championship game and a 1-point victory in what might have been the sloppiest Super Bowl of all time. Now, though, it's time to move on to 2029 that starts with the offseason, and right away we've got a whole bunch of crazy going on. Andy Reid retired and 10 other coaches were fired. That means 11 head coach openings, more than a third of the NFL. I feel like usually we max out at 8, maybe 9 after Black Monday. I also want to scroll through player retirements really quick. Plenty of recognizable names in here, although I don't think that there are any that we've played with on either the Jets or the Broncos. Derrick Henry retires in Dallas. That leaves the door open for the guy that they drafted last year. Jacoby Brissett, I don't know where he was, but I remember he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles the year after Jalen Hurts left for Seattle. Mariota and Carr, I think, have been backups for a while, and I think they're the last big names on this list, aside from Reid, of course. Obviously, I'm not handling player negotiations, but I just wanted to show who the Broncos are looking at letting go. Justin Simmons and Caleb Farley seem like the two biggest names. The punter who I hated and the kicker who won Kicker of the Year are both going, it looks like. 33-year-old Cortland Sutton and Ryan Bates, who I think was actually a Pro Bowler. Now, a bunch of these guys it makes sense to let go, but the CPU really should be trying to re-sign more of these guys. They've got like 120 million in cap space, but unfortunately I can't make the teams use it without just managing every team myself. I did check out franchise tags and I saw Josh Allen got the franchise tag, almost $50 million. In real life in 2029, that would probably seem like a steal. I think his complaint about not being a scheme fit is fair. Guy's been here for 10 plus years now and you're not going to build the team around him. But the lack of historic championships being a downer for him is funny to me, considering that Allen himself has lost 3 Super Bowls with this team in the past few years. Apparently people can retire later than that first stage as well, Amari Cooper being the main one here. Not sure if it's always done that or if it just didn't pop up on the main screen before. In terms of free agency, looks like Jair Alexander will replace Jalen Ramsey. This actually looks like a really good free agency class. 3 guys in the 90s. Definitely mostly older players, but there is Travis Nash, who's pretty young. I remember seeing him on somebody's roster last year, I don't remember whose, but he's a really nice pickup for the Jags. We played against Trent Ingram. I don't remember who he was with, but he played really well against us, I think. As always, running backs in Madden may be a little too important, probably stay good for too long, but that's just the way the game is. Honestly, considering the way that running backs are treated now, I don't mind it at all. I just wish that it wasn't so rare to be able to have a running back come out and be really productive in Sim. It seems like more than any other position, you need a really good overall at running back to perform well. If anything, that's the position it should be least true. Cowboys signed another running back, and Joey Bosa is back to the Chargers. Now I'm saying that, I think it was Nick Bosa that left for the Bears. I don't know, maybe Joey's been there all along. I can't remember. Anyways, looks like the Broncos were pretty active in free agency, found replacements for both Simmons and Farley, replaced their third string running back, picked up some linebacker depth and some extra quarterbacks. Not bad. We saw the Jets do like nothing last offseason. This year they have done some things, including John Mechie, who was really good. And I guess that's the only notable one. I don't know who Jake Ward is, but he didn't seem in the list. Chaz Zimmer, I think, scored a touchdown against the Broncos this year. They did get former Bronco Logan Hall, and picked up a tight end. Anyways, not even 4 minutes in, and we're already at the draft. We're going to do this very differently from the last draft, because last time, I had no idea who the best player was going to be, and this time I'm pretty sure it's Devontae Davis. 6'6", 273, elite athlete. Could ask for the strength to be better, but this guy's a speed rusher, he plays on the edge, and he's being compared to like run stoppers who play on the interior in 3-4s. And of course power rushers for whom the power is more important. That said, he does also have power moves in his arsenal. I would like to see A finesse moves, but since he's got B in finesse and power and he's a speed rusher, I'm guessing it's going to be a high B. The only hole here is block shedding, and that's not really a big deal for me. Again, you have to think about who he's being compared to. We do also have a 3-4 edge power rusher in Keelan McClellan. He's also an elite athlete, also really strong. The raw numbers say about the same strength as Davis, but the acceleration is probably similar. Looks like he also has both sets of pass rush moves, but for a guy listed as linebacker, I'd like to see an A. We also have Paul Cunningham, He's another speed rusher, really similar athletic profile to McClellan. I apparently didn't grab the skill ratings. I think his game was a little more imbalanced, might have had an A in finesse, but lesser skills in other places. Now there's Cam Robertson, already 23. Certainly a good athlete, can be very good for somebody, but the numbers just don't jump out as much there. And if you compare his skills 1-to-1 to Devontae Davis, there's really nothing where he's better. A lot of things he's worse, and he's got F injury. Percy Carr is a guy that I've compared to Eric Lamb, just 40 pounds lighter and playing on the edge. He's got round 1-2 talent. He's not going to be our guy, but I just thought it was fun to look at him since he reminds me of Lamb. And he's around the same spot on the board too. A little bit lower, we have a tight end, Justin Sullivan. I want to say 12. Very good athlete, doesn't really blow you away. He's neither the strongest nor the fastest, but he's plenty athletic for a tight end at 6'5". And what really got me are the skills. Now, I don't really know what the ranges are for tight ends. They've got so many core attributes, but they tend to be jack of all trades and master of none. That said, every catching and running with the ball rating on here is an A or a B. So he seems intriguing. And one guy that I noticed while I was going through, very unlikely to be our guy, but I found this run-stopping off-ball linebacker. He's a fantastic athlete for the position. Looks like his run-stopping skills are really good. Coverage might not be great, but with that athleticism, it can be developed. That's enough of a preview, though. Let's get into this thing. The Packers are on the board. They had a disastrous 3-win season. They moved on from a guy who they previously thought was their quarterback of the future. Sam Smith goes to the Commanders. He'll actually play over their second-year quarterback, who played decently well as a rookie, I think, last year. He still has the future starter tag as well, so I guess he might get to play again. But I don't think he developed very much last season, unfortunately. The Packers bring in Daniel Jones, who was previously in Oakland and supplanted by Kevin Blackman. But the Packers do also have needs on the defensive line. This is a 3-4 team. There's arguably 3 different roles that they could put Devontae Davis in on this defense, but it's going to be the quarterback, Greg McLaughlin. First overall pick out of Youngstown State. Now we've got the Ravens. Dom Flynn has not been playing well, not been developing well, and he is no longer being treated as their quarterback of the future. They are planning to move on from him. Had a pretty good rookie year and arguably has not been as good since. So will they make the other quarterback the number 2 overall pick and move on from former number 10 pick Dom Flynn? Or will they take the consensus top player all year in Devontae Davis and fill a need at edge rusher? They do have a solid young player in Amari Jones, but he doesn't project to be a superstar, and they really don't seem to have much of a pass rush on this team. So will it be quarterback Ryan Hopkins or one of the many pass rushers on the board? It's Devontae Davis, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. And from here, I was pretty content to just speed it up. We're going to see a lot of pass rushers go early. 3 in a row, make that 5 in a row. I do believe pass rusher was a big need for the Jets, just based on the fact that during Hargrove's rookie year, it was kind of a weak spot on the roster, and they made basically no additions at that spot since then. Couple tackles in the top 10 as well, now a cornerback, and Percy Carr makes it 6 pass rushers in the top 10. First wide receiver off the board, and now the 49ers are going to take another defensive end despite not using Tremaine Lacey last year. Back-to-back defensive tackles. The tight end that I liked is starting to drop a little bit. And there he goes. He's going to back up Offensive Rookie of the Year and 4th place in MVP voting, Brett Bailey in Miami. Still a ton of pass rushing talent in this draft. And finally, that other quarterback goes. He was actually projected 3rd. The other one was projected 4th, but it looks like the Trey Lance era in Tennessee might be over. And at this point, I honestly don't really know any of these players, but I figure it's fun to show the whole first round live. There's Delvin Thurmond, the linebacker that I really liked. I do wish the draft classes had more top-end off-ball linebacker talent, but I guess it's a bit of a devalued position in real life, so it makes sense. And the Broncos take another defensive tackle. Alright, I'm going to have to check him out before we check out anything else. He's a 74 overall. They also got a 75 overall receiver in the 2nd round. That guy is normal dev, though. Matt Kearse, however, he is star dev. He's the same weight as Lamb and Murray, although he's 1 inch taller. And I decided to move him to right end. He certainly wouldn't have started over Murray. His overall takes a hit of a couple points here, but he's still a scheme fit. I think it makes the most sense for him. Meanwhile, the quarterback the Packers took is a 75 hidden dev, 96 throw power, very good accuracy, needs to work on the rest a bit. only 71 speed, so he'll certainly be a pocket passer. 75 for a quarterback, though, is generally really good in these classes, so that's a solid number 1 pick for them. Devontae Davis is only a 77. I don't really know what the ceiling is, but I'm a little disappointed with 75 finesse moves. We had him fully scouted, and it seems like almost everything came in at the low end of the range. So now I'm a little unsure. I don't know how good he'll be as a rookie, and if the athleticism will overcome the lower finesse moves. Keelan McClellan is a 75. He looks decent, but his size definitely makes him a 3-4 edge, and he's very one-dimensional at that spot, not a very good tackler either. I'm not going to show off every single one of these guys because there's so many pass rushers. Bobby Edwards certainly looks good, but definitely a step down from Davis, especially in the athleticism. Paul Cunningham for the Jets is also 77, but let's be honest, we're not going to do a second year with the Jets. And honestly, I'd really rather be in a 4-3 this year after being in a 3-4 last year. And aside from Cunningham, all the other pass rushers are just going to be a step down from Davis and maybe Cunningham at this point. Nobody else we've scrolled past is that good. And obviously, I wanted to look at my tight end crush. He's a 75, which isn't bad, but I've seen much better tight ends. I can't believe that A deep route running is only a 67. I'm sure the blocking ratings are bringing down his overall some, but his catch in traffic and spec catch aren't that good. The letter grades looked a lot more interesting than the actual ratings. Meanwhile, the Giants got the highest overall player at 78, but he's normal dev. That linebacker Delvin Thurman was another 77. Really good run stopper, but he's only normal dev and he's 23 already and needs a lot of work in pass coverage. This Commanders receiver has 99 spec catch, which is really cool, but his actual catching isn't that high, he's not that athletic, and he's not a great route runner. Cunningham does actually have the best finesse moves, and this kind of illustrates why I'm so disappointed with where Davis came out, because you definitely can have a lot higher finesse moves at this position coming out. Obviously it helps that he's got a bit of both, but he's got all the athleticism more than most of these guys, just not the polish coming out of college. He can still be a really good player, and he's probably who we're going to go with, just not really what I'd hyped him up to be to myself. I do like looking at the personality numbers sometimes and imagining what these guys might be like. Worth noting that at 99 personality, the Ravens got a guy, Gordon Bailey, 75 overall as a rookie, 3rd rounder, hidden dev. Seems like they had a pretty darn good draft. And he looks really playable. Great hands, good athleticism. Route running is imbalanced, but it's definitely playable, especially if you just have him doing mostly short stuff. Pretty good with the ball in his hands. I thought briefly about doing this as 2 different players, but I think that would be just way too much work for me. Maybe something to do down the road once we've covered more positions. But if I'm going to do a receiver, I want to give him the full focus. Baltimore actually had a really good class. They got a left tackle who's a 73 in hidden dev, plus a middle linebacker who's a 72. He's got normal dev, but all 4 guys should get significant playing time. The only other player I really thought about was that tight end, but he's sitting behind our old friend Double Drew, so there's not really a way that it makes sense for him to have a big impact. Part of the reason being that Miami is just already so much better than the Ravens are right now. They are actually pretty good at receiver, but Bailey should play. He's got the tag for it. And Devontae Davis will be playing in what is probably the worst front 4 in the league. And the defensive backfield isn't going to be as helpful as Denver's was. Real quick, here's the ratings for Percy Carr. Pretty decent ratings, normal dev. A little more of a run stopper than Lamb was coming out, I think. Doesn't remind me of him as much with the actual ratings. And then the second quarterback taking Ryan Hopkins was a 71 overall. Pretty strong arm, very good accuracy. 76 seems like good awareness coming out, but doesn't do much off script, so kind of the polar opposite of Trey Lance as a prospect. We'll see how soon he plays. He does already have a franchise QB tag, which is interesting. Not even Hargrove had that, but he's listed as future starter as well. There was another first-round quarterback who was a scrambler, but he didn't go in the first round, so I didn't think to show him. But let's get to what's important. We're going to be running with Devontae Davis and the Baltimore Ravens. Last year we played as an unathletic interior defensive lineman who was very polished. Now it's going to be an athletic edge without much polish at all, and that's kind of the new template for edge rushers anyways. Baltimore has a new head coach in Scott Jackson. He's actually won a Super Bowl. I don't know if the game records coordinator stats or if this is only head coach stats. One of the first things that I looked for when I looked at the Baltimore roster was to see if they still had Justin Tucker. I'm pretty sure he was here last year, but it does not look like he's in the league anymore. Sometimes players do retire without showing up on the retirement screen, I think. Don't know if that's what happened here or if I just misremembered. Hayden Allen, who just won Kicker of the Year with Denver, is available for some reason, but the Ravens, even with Tucker, have been kind of known for bringing kickers into camp as rookies and then they turn out really well. So I wanted to look for a rookie. I ended up picking Gio Peterson. He's got 93 kick power, which seems pretty great, only 72 accuracy. We'll throw him into the fire and just see how he does. Star tight end Mark Andrews is commenting on the rookie hidden dev lineman. Haven't seen this particular scenario before, but I feel like it should be another offensive lineman. This team did make a few moves in free agency. Khalil Shakir, who will immediately be playing behind a rookie. Juan Tompkins, who will also be immediately playing behind a rookie. They also picked up DeAndre Swift to start. They didn't have a kicker or punter, so I signed those. I signed the best punter on the market because I think this team is going to be punting a lot. Andrews was the only tight end on the roster, so I signed the best scheme fit and the best blocking tight end. Unlike the Broncos, I didn't need to sign very many players. Mostly I just had to shuffle guys around a lot to be scheme fits. Notably, the rookie left tackle I moved to left guard. It seemed like a good fit for him. And we had another startable left tackle who I moved to right, which also seemed like a better fit. The game actually wanted to put Davis Mills as the starter. I made it Dom Flynn. Seems like he's probably done here in Baltimore after this year, but Baltimore just has nothing to gain by playing Davis Mills instead. I'd probably attribute part of Baltimore's struggles to drafting a first-round running back who ended up not being very good. He looked pretty bad when we played against him last year. They had a different veteran running back who he was playing over. He left, and they brought in DeAndre Swift to actually be good. I really liked the receiver Dean Thomas last year, and I've put Gordon Bailey in the third spot. He'll also be the slot receiver. Drescher has pretty good ratings, but he's sort of just a guy, honestly. Mark Andrews is really good. The offensive line actually looks like it's in really good shape. Ronnie Stanley's playing on the tag, so I might move Johnny Drew back to tackle, but his skills definitely seem better at guard right now. They've got a really good center. They just signed a right guard who's quite good, and I just moved Shepard from left tackle to right tackle. He is probably a better fit at left, but he's way better than whoever else would have been playing right. I did swap Davis and Jones. They're both a scheme fit at left end, but Jones is only normal dev. He doesn't matter as much. It's not Amari Jones watch after all. And honestly, I just like playing from that side of the line better. Defensive tackle looks pretty bad. Keep in mind, two of these guys will be on the field most of the time. I didn't notice until editing that Juan Tompkins is 318 pounds. He should be inside for sure. I was thinking I'd play the young guys over him since he's just a bridge player, but he definitely should be on the interior. So I'll fix that before the regular season. Cornerback looks okay. Marlon Humphrey obviously is really good in real life, but he's a veteran now. He's not going to be a true lockdown player, and neither are the guys behind him. Safety looks pretty good. And I know I kind of skipped over the linebackers, but I will talk about them in a minute here. Just noticed, by the way, that Gio Peterson only has 51 awareness. I have no idea how that will affect his kicking abilities, but it's probably going to be better for this team to just lose and take a quarterback. I put Bailey in the slot. I like his fit there. And of course, he should produce pretty well by playing in the slot. Chris Rose is actually a pass rushing linebacker. The scheme is 4-3 cover 3, and for some reason right outside linebacker for that is a power rusher. Amari Jones will actually play inside, along with Juan Tompkins. And at linebacker right now it's Roquan Smith and Pete Werner, but the rookie might play later. Alright, this has been a lot of preamble, and I've got a little more of it to do, so I'm just going to show the first few plays here. But I want to talk about how I expect the season to go. I think this team is still going to be pretty bad, maybe not 4-win bad. There's a lot of offensive talent, but Dom Flynn is just not good. He's going to drag the team down. You'll see it here in this preseason, but the defense isn't very good either. The Broncos didn't seem that good on paper, but the secondary was so good that it helped out the pass rush. And that's probably the strong spot on this team, but it's not good enough to be helping out the rest of the defense. Roquan Smith can't carry the whole defensive unit on his back. Meanwhile, here's what should have been Davis's first sack, but I whiffed. Kruger made a great throw, and it was caught for a touchdown. So big rookie mistake, but what I'm going to do, I'm pretty much just going to do highlight reels. I don't expect the team performances to be interesting. This was back-to-back sacks for Chris Rose, by the way. But I kind of want to just try a fast-paced, casual style. I'm expecting most of the outcomes to be bad, so instead of focusing on the game, I want to focus on the player. Speaking of, here's the first tackle, but couldn't quite bring him down in time. That's going to be a first down. But that's a long way to cover from the backside of a run, something that Eric Lamb couldn't have done. He could have gotten through the middle of the line at the same time and still not caught up in time for the tackle. He was just molasses. A couple plays later, it's a tackle for loss for Davis. By the way, I did decide to just play him 3 quarters in all 3 games, get him some more reps, and get used to playing in this position. Another TFL for him here on a different drive. Probably shouldn't be blocking a defensive end with a wide receiver. Anyways, a few more highlights in here, but the point that I'm very slowly getting across is that I think another full season as a pass rusher doing it the slow way would get stale. I think we can get through it in 2 to 3 pretty quick episodes, depending on how things go. And there's the athleticism for Davis. Beats a man way outside and still gets the sack. First of his preseason, and that was a long way to go. Definitely a bit of a coverage sack, but flashing that athleticism. 86 speed will feel very different from 70 or whatever Lamb had. He also had poor acceleration, of course. Here's another sack for Davis on play action. Definitely seems up to the task with the backups. One problem I had with Lamb was being double teamed all the time, or getting through the middle and getting caught on somebody else, whether it be a running back blocking or just another interior lineman. You'd beat one off the snap and then the animation would just take you into another guy. It was super annoying at times, and I'm hoping that'll happen less on the end. Almost finished with another sack there. There was a whole lot of scoring in the fourth quarter apparently. The backups apparently played really well and then completely collapsed. Mark Andrews is here to talk to us about our offensive line again. And that's actually a dev trait upgrade? It is revealed now too. Kind of curious if that's an actual upgrade or if it's actually just revealing the dev. I mean, it's probably just an upgrade, but that seems like a really easy way to get an upgrade, especially considering that we didn't see a scenario for Hargrove or Lamb at all. Instead, we're going to get another scenario for a different guy. Diving into this game against the Commanders against former Packer Sam Smith. He's made the defense look terrible so far, but he's going to get clobbered by Amari Jones on the screenplay. They got a field goal on that drive. Now with the ball again, he throws it straight to Roquan Smith. And maybe this is why the Packers got rid of him. Maybe he threw a lot of touchdowns to purple jerseys. And the Ravens' first-string defense is officially in the end zone before the first-string offense. I'm not going to completely cut out other highlights, of course. Robinson's got nowhere to go here, and he's popped by Davis. 4 TFLs last week, by the way, so that's the 5th of the preseason here. Really wasn't expecting the run defense to be this good, but maybe the matchups have been good. Haven't been looking that closely. He did almost get in there again, but couldn't quite make the play. Robinson gets out of there and gets a ton of yards. And there hasn't been a whole lot to show in this one. We are well into the third quarter now. The Commanders look like they're about to take a 2-score lead, but remember the Ravens are only in this because of a defensive touchdown. Spin move for Devontae Davis, and he's going to get himself a sack. That's the second-year quarterback Martin Wagner. Had nobody open and did not get rid of the ball. Of course, the Ravens would lose anyways. Get used to this animation for Scott Jackson? I forgot his name already. Roquan apparently loves Phillip Chambers. He's going to get a free 5 to zone coverage and 10,000 XP. And that got him close enough to Werner that with the future/day 1 starter tag, I decided to put him in over Werner. Only one back in sub package, which is what I'll be in most of the time anyways. Unfortunately, we have to take on Jalen Hurts this week. One of the hardest guys in the league to chase down, but Davis is going to make it look easy. The play action slowed things down a bit, which helped, but he was so fast coming out of that move. The acceleration was insane. Is it just me, or does his body look really narrow in this animation? Anyways, already more success than I expected to get against Hurts today. Man, look at that tackle laying on the ground defeated. Hurts still gets it away, but I guess Davis has him outmatched. That is, by the way, his first sack of a starting quarterback. And on this play, I won the shed, somehow thought it was a pass, and still managed to make the tackle. Gotta say, I am loving the athleticism so far. It's so refreshing. Don't mean to trash talk Lamb, but it does open up a whole new world. There he is again, second sack of Jalen Hurts today. Last year, Lamb's best matchups were all against quarterbacks that didn't have the athleticism to run away or the presence to throw the ball away. With Devontae Davis, I think it's going to be less about the quarterback and more about the offensive line matchup. Not that both of those things weren't important for both players, I just think the importance might be switched. Since Davis has worse technique but is more athletic, there it is on display again. He just comes flying around the edge sometimes. When he wins a rep and doesn't run straight into another offensive lineman, he gets in there really, really fast. Anyways, Baltimore's offense has actually put up 10 points today, and they're going to get some more help. Not a good throw from Hurts. Cross picks it off. He's not going to get all the way to the end zone here, but the offense will only need to get 8 yards to take the lead here. And as it turns out, they would do so. So a couple of big turnovers that we've seen. Unfortunately, this defense just isn't going to be consistently good enough for that to overcome the downsides, I don't think. This would end up being the last play of the preseason for Davis. He can't quite make the tackle, but slows up DK enough for Roquan Smith to make the play. The offense would follow that up with a field goal on a really long drive that took up the rest of the quarter, so the backups came in, and do you know what they did? They blew it. But hey, some signs of life that probably shows us how we'll win our 6 games this season, and it was a really, really good day for Davis. I'm really glad we got a taste of his upside in preseason. He actually led the league with 6 sacks, also had 4 tackles for loss. I kind of thought it was 5, I guess only 4. 16 total tackles as well. He actually led the league in preseason sacks, but nobody else would have been starting for 9 quarters. It would have been 6. And somebody else did have 5, so it's not like he's totally overdoing it here. Here is our schedule for the year, something I haven't thought to show off in previous seasons. It's not a particularly tough looking one, but honestly, I only see a couple likely wins in here. Maybe Colts and Packers, but you really never know until you play the games. He also had 149 snaps, which seems like a lot of defensive snaps for only 6 quarters of play. Of course, he probably had special teams in there. I'm sure he's on field goals and punts. But we could have that unlocked after only 4 regular season games. Anyways, I am excited to see how the rookie year of Devontae Davis turns out. I realize that my proposed cadence for this series does mean kind of rushing through the season, but I'm going to show all his highlights. I just won't show as much of the team if they are as bad as I think they will be. I mean, the offense got in the end zone twice all preseason and once they started at the 8. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.